Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week with Building Bridges Orson. We have a special guest host tonight with us, Ceylan Ozbudak from Building Bridges. She is the executive director, and she also works with A9 TV and Harun Yahya, and she's also my boss, so I can't mess up on this show. Hi, Ceylan. How you doing?
Hi. It's a great morning here in Istanbul. I'm feeling great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very good. Very good. And we also have a very special guest with us today from Pakistan, Raja Mujtaba, and he is the chairman and founder of OM Center for Policy Studies, a virtual think tank. OM Center for Policy Studies publishes Opinion Maker, which is an online publication that has some very good stories. If you get a chance, you can go look at it at opinion-maker.org and check that out. And it is also intended to bring out a hard copy sometime soon. And a little bit about Raja is after graduating from college, he joined Pakistan Army and was commissioned in a tank regiment. He is a veteran of Indo-Pakistan War, and after leaving the Army, he joined IT as a profession. He was hired by Kuwait Air Force and Air Defense as an advisor to computerize its entire operation. Here he was the chief coordinator of the project, Kuwait Automated Support Systems, KASS. There was a state-of-the-art leading-edge technology where they established over 500 online terminals to network with dedicated voice and data communications. And he is now, and has been, writing for 25 years for various newspapers and periodicals. And in May 2007, he established a virtual think tank, Opinion Maker, that has some renowned writers from Pakistan and abroad who contribute regularly, that's helping the world opinion in some way. Raja Mujtaba is a keen golfer and a photographer. And he is also a very good conversationalist, as we've had several conversations. And welcome to the show, Raja. It's very nice to have you here.
My pleasure, Jerry. My pleasure.
And I want to thank you for publishing the article right off the bat in the Opinion Maker that I wrote for Building Bridges. I very much appreciate that.
It's my pleasure again.
One thing that I want to start off with, I want to start with your article, Muslims Unite to Counter Western Propaganda. And for various obvious reasons, I'm sure everybody listening can understand, there has been a lot of propaganda against, and I'll say against, because it has been against the Muslim world and Islam. And you have some very strong views on this, and I'm sure we all do. I know a lot of people were trying to say that the movie that came out, Innocence of Muslims, is what provoked a lot of this rioting, and it has since come out that a lot of this was kind of pre-orchestrated, but this in no way helped the situation. If I could just get a brief explanation of what you think about the events around the movie that were released and the movie itself.
Well, Jerry, this movie was not released out of the blue. It was a well thought out and planned action on the part of those who want to create a rift and disharmony amongst these various sections of the society. And they know it pretty well that in Islam, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the most sacred person and that we know. And any aspersions on his personality, his conduct, character, they create a chaos in the Muslim world, not only in one country but all over, And that is what they precisely try to do, and they try to create that hate, Islamophobia, and things like that. And this was a movie when, at a time when I would say that America was little distancing itself from Israel and on that thing, and getting more closer to the Muslim point of view. And this movie was released at that particular time, so that this outrage in the Muslim world, and the world says that they are fanatics, they are lunatics, and they are all sorts of things, so that Obama administration gets back to Israel. And also with this, the killing of the American ambassador in Benghazi. I'm very sorry for that loss of that death. I don't like people dying without any reason, without any cause. And that was again, I would say, a planted act on behalf of the Zionists, so that the American boots can land on Libya or other Muslim countries. This was basically to incite the American public opinion against the Muslims. And I think by now the world at large and the American public in particular, they have become very aware how the things are being manipulated, so now they don't get flared up that easily. 9/11, I think, was the peak when they could use or misuse that sort of a thing, and they flared the anti-Muslim sentiment in America. But since then, the things have changed quite a lot, and now things are moving in a different direction, and I am glad that people are realizing who are the real culprits.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think 9/11 was way overused. And interestingly enough, Ceylan and I had been having a discussion about the term Zionism a while ago, and she had a very she actually enlightened me quite a bit on that, and I would like to get her view on that before we go on much further, because I think it's important to decimate the differences, because in all cultures we have, like in America we have Christians, and then we have what we call the right Christians and left Christians, and what these are whether they be more traditional or conservative, and I think her explanation of Zionism and atheism Zionism is very important to this discussion too.
Atheist Zionism.
Atheist Zionism, yes.
Okay, if we are to explain the thing from the beginning, I have to say some of our Muslim brothers oppose the existence of Jewish people in the region without enough education. First of all, the damnation of the name Israel is a sin, because Israel is the name of a prophet, and all prophets are holy for Muslims. And according to Quran, Jewish people have a right to live there. It's also their land. And in the Quran, it is explicitly understood that they will be in the Jerusalem and that they will reside in Israel. The verses of the Quran state this fact very openly. For example, Allah says in a verse, "So dwell in this land, and when the promise of the end of days comes to be fulfilled, we shall assemble you all together there." So they will be there until the doomsday. There will be Jews until the doomsday, and they should live in peace within our protection and compassion and love. And their right to live there, and this is called Zionism. Okay, this is understandable, but there is another thing. This is atheist Zionism, and of course they have a right to live there, but they don't have the right to oppress other people living there. So this is what we oppose. We don't oppose Jews living anywhere. We don't oppose Jewish people living in Istanbul or Pakistan or America or in Jerusalem. We oppose people oppressing other people under the name of a religion, because if they abide by the rules of real Torah, they wouldn't be oppressing Muslims or other minorities living there right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good sentiment with everybody that is keeping up on what's going on in this arena, because even religion teaches us, that we should accept, other religions and other people as our own, and to be forgiving and compassionate. And again, we also have people in every religion and in every country that lean more to the left, and I don't know if we could actually have a term that would cover all of them through all of the faiths and all of the countries, because we have bigots, and as you say, we have atheist Zionism. We have, as far as politics, you have far right and far left, and there are many titles to go with this. But the thing of it is within those titles, and I'll say the dark side of things, we have people that want to control other people and their emotions and their actions and what they do day to day, and how countries are handled and how people should be handled. And that, I think, is also education, or lack of education, rather. So that's something, and I'm sure Raja will put in on this too, that we need to be working on, is educating people all across the spectrum of the world. Because I know in America, a lot of American sentiment is, well, they're 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 miles away. It's not our problem, and it is our problem. And people that are there, it's everybody's problem. So being educated in each other's traditions and religions and politics and lives, I think, is very important.
Yes, I tend to agree with you, Jerry. This is exactly what is required. Education is the main point that we need to stress upon. On one hand, it is, as you said, it is lack of education, and on the other hand, it is educating the people in a desired direction to create that sort of hate feeling and making the people clash, So a lack of education for those who do not bother to learn themselves and educate themselves, and then those who control this sort of a media, they educate the people in a manner that they become more listening to them, and then they can achieve their desired goals. There's interesting thing that let me go back. There's a book by the name of Pawns in the Game. This was written by a Canadian naval commander, William Guy Carr. He wrote this book somewhere in 1948, 49 or something like that, When I read that book, it became a very sort of a prophetic sort of a book, and then I started to develop more belief in that book. Because in that book, he mentioned one thing very clearly. He said that the Soviet Union shall collapse after 72 years of its creation. So it was created in 1917, and if you add 72 years to that, it comes to same period, 1989. That was exactly the time when Soviet Union collapsed. So that was something which he writes in 1948, 49, and it happens exactly on that day. And then whatever he wrote in that book, I started to believe more firmly on those because I took him for as a more authentic person. Now, in his book, he quotes that there were two Austrian Jewish scholars by the name of Bedloff and Holy. That was in the period somewhere in 1748. They were sitting and pondering. They said that we have derailed the Christianity and we have taken the wind out of them. Now the Christians are not the Christians in that sense as they used to be. But the only thing is that we have to tackle with the Muslims. And then they said that the only thing is that unless and until we can take away the belief that there's no life, if that can be taken out of the Muslim mind, only then we can achieve our objectives. So that is one major factor that you see in these societies, that they're moving towards more atheism, more godless societies and things like that. And these Zionist forces, they're aggressively working on that to make the society as a godless society, as atheists, so that they have all to gain within this world, and that is why they are developing the capitalistic thinking of society. So we have to look into these things. These things are not happening overnight. These things are not happening out of the blue. They are well planned, well organized, and only then these things are happening and taking place.
Yeah, I agree. This is something that has been going on for centuries, or I don't know. Well, I guess you could say centuries, because traditionalism runs down centuries, literally. And in the last, I would say, 70 years or so, it's really gotten bad because I'd actually wrote an article the other night that's got quite a bit of attention, and what it was that this stuff needs to be brought out into the open and discussed. And not only religion, but a lot of the stuff, that people don't want to discuss. And the reason they don't want to is because they have come up through education and social stratification, if you will, or conditioning, that a lot of this stuff is not to be discussed in the open. You don't, in America, they have a saying, you don't discuss religion or politics. And I think that is one of the problems we do have.